I'm Jessica Kellner, Editor-in-Chief of Mother Earth Living magazine, and today I'm going to chat with you about dehydrating basics for the foods coming out of your garden. Here in Kansas, it's the end of summer and my garden is pumping out tons of herbs and produce, so I want to save some of this produce so when January rolls around and I don't have all this fresh food, I can still enjoy garden fresh flavors. So I went out to the garden, picked a few stems of sage here. Now, one of the low-tech ways to dry this is simply to take about 12 to 13 stems, bundle it together with an elastic band. You can also use a string, but an elastic band is especially good because as this dries, it's going to shrink and the elastic band will tighten so nothing falls out. And then you're just going to hang your bundle in a dry space for as long as it takes to completely dry, usually about a week. Now this does take a good amount of time. If you want to do this much more quickly, you can use a food dehydrator. So when you're using a food dehydrator, all you're going to do is pluck each individual leaf off of the stem and lay it on your tray. They can be very close together, but you don't want them to be overlapping. We're looking for a single layer that's pretty tightly packed. Once you have your tray full and you can stack up as many trays as you need, you're going to replace your lid, set your temperature to about 125 degrees, and turn on the machine. This is going to take about 8 hours to be completely dry. You can check it about halfway through just to make sure that everything is going well, but other than that, you pretty much just leave it alone. Now the best thing to do is to store your herbs as whole leaves like this, not crumble them up like you see in herb blends at the store. The volatile oils will break down when it is crumbled up. That's another reason store-bought herbs often taste less flavorful. So leave it whole, break it up when you're ready to use it, and you're going to have your fresh garden herbs all year long. So now we're going to move on to something a little harder to dry, but still not difficult, tomatoes. Tomatoes are a great product to preserve in all sorts of ways, and drying is one of the simplest. So I'm using Roma tomatoes. These are an excellent candidate for drying because they're fairly uniform, they contain less moisture and seeds than a lot of other varieties of tomato, and they come out with a really nice, consistent dried tomato product. Now we want to just go ahead and cut our tomato into slices. You're looking for about a 1/4 inch thick, maybe a little bit bigger. You can probably get 4 to 6 slices out of each tomato depending on the size. It doesn't have to be super thin, but you don't want it incredibly thick. And then we're going to put them on our tray. They can be touching very close together, but you don't want any of them to be overlapping. All right, so we have our fully loaded tray. Now at this point you can have a little fun and experiment. I'm going to put some sea salt on mine. Just sprinkle it on there. And then you can add any herbs or seasonings that you like. I have done this with dried chili pepper flakes, various kinds of seasonings. Today I'm going to do an Italian seasoning. And once we have that done, we're going to go ahead and put the lid on our dehydrator. Set it to about 130 degrees and turn it on. These are going to take about 8 to 12 hours to dry. You do want to check them periodically to make sure everything's going well, but it does pretty much take care of itself. And you will probably see that they aren't going to all be finished at exactly the same time because of variations in size and thickness. So you're looking for a tomato slice that seems totally dry. It's going to be much smaller. It's going to be fairly crispy. That's how you know it's done. When you start to see that some are done, you can go ahead and take those off as you let the others stay in to continue drying. And once they're all done, we're going to be ready to store them. So these dried tomatoes are totally done. We know because they feel crispy, they feel very dry, and we can see that all the moisture is out of them and they've shrunk down to a really small size. So now we're going to go ahead and store them. You can store them in any airtight container. I'm putting them in these small baggies. I do usually try to avoid plastics in the kitchen, but because this is a dry product with no heat and no liquid, I feel better storing it into a plastic bag. Otherwise, if you want to avoid that, you can just put them straight into a well-sealed canning jar, and you can use them throughout the year. You can go ahead and put them into any kind of pasta sauce, put them into stews, and they're going to bring a really bright tomatoey flavor. They're also really great for snacking. Dehydrating food is a great way to preserve your garden harvest so you can enjoy it all year. Join us at motherearthliving.com or in the magazine for tons of food preservation tips that you can use to make sure that you're eating fresh local food all year. Thanks.